they're not here, so they must be out there spending their money. Right? Well, that's because they can't spend it, and they got it left, right?
That ain't me, because I'm here.
Okay.
All right.
I call it at this meeting.
Hey, William, you had bitter arguments in this, I tell you.
I know,
My goodness.
it's all good, but
Yeah.
you see who's supposed to be here.
It's 2 or 3 gathered. Yeah.
Steve said.
And then I buy all this food, and then they don't show up, see what I'm saying?
That's all right. We can take it home.
Okay, well, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Hope you guys are doing good. Hope you had a wonderful weekend. And the weather's being nice now. Look at this weather. All week long, we're going to be in the 80s. Come on now. Get your swim out here. But we're going to go ahead and check in and get started. And go ahead. And so we're going to start the check-in.
Okay, how y'all want me to take me from? I ain't been so long, I forgot.
Just tell who you are and how you feel.
Antonio Wilson, blessed and highly favored.
My name is Keontae, I'm black. Good morning.
I'm Norris, and I was not in the hospital. Those who got that message. I had an allergic reaction to some dye. And so I had to go get it cleared up, because who couldn't walk around with that swollen face? Me. So I went to the ER where they give me a pill or whatever to get it done. And so I feel better. Face has gone down. So I feel better.
All right.
I'm Jeremy, I'm great.
Reverend William Francis, and in my great.
Tia Francis, I'm happy to be here. I feel great.
I'm Quinn, I'm glad to be here.
I'm Ken, I'm feeling great today.
Okay. Larry, so we hide back there, Larry.
And I heard the tail end of what you was talking about, the face being swollen up and all, and I'm doing great with JB, but Larry and I both, it seemed like something got a hold of us, wherein we don't have allergies, but it seemed like somebody took us by the neck and was swinging us around like a rag doll.
I think God's trying to tell you something.
But, but we're doing much better now, and I am so glad. I thought it was the flu. The doctor said it's some super strand or pollen or something going around, but how people don't normally affect it. So just watch yourselves if you're out. But we're doing great, and we're thankful glad to be here.
And I'm James, I'm very optimistic today. Very optimistic. I'm going to read a couple of guidelines and won't belabor this too long. You know what the guidelines are. But the one things that are most important is turn off your cell phones. Make sure your cell phones are on silent. Okay. Take off your hats and sunglasses. Nobody wearing hats and sunglasses today. Okay. No sagging. Ain't y'all sagging? No, nobody sagging. Go to next clients for money. See the staff for money if you need money. Not if you got any, but see staff for money. Okay. Also, what goes on here stays here. There's no communication beyond this door. Okay. Confidential. We want to make sure you understand that. People share their feelings and their viewpoints. That's their feelings and viewpoints. So you have to understand to agree to disagree. You know. They can have their feelings, they can have their thoughts, okay? And everybody's presence is appreciated. When someone's speaking, please don't interrupt them. Give them a chance to get their thoughts out. You know, if you have a question or a concern, raise your hand and we'll acknowledge you, okay? But like I said, I'm not going to belabor this too much longer. We're going to introduce our speaker for the day, which is Reverend William France, okay? And I'm going to give the floor now, sir.
Amen. Greetings, everyone. I always like to come when I'm asked to speak or to preach, because I like, one, knowing my audience, and then two, I always hear something in reference to why I'm here. The one thing that I have learned early in my ministry is it's not about the numbers. It's not about the quantity, the numbers of people that are there, but it's about the quality. And my brother, you said something when you were talking to dude there in the gray, and about moving someplace. Agree? Yeah. About your success and what you're looking to do.
I'm moving forward, not being particular where I'm at.
Okay.
I was trying to reach a higher level.
To a higher level. And I thought that was really interesting because the message that I wanted to bring today is simply entitled In Thin Air. In Thin Air. And the question that I want to ask you all today is, how high will you climb? How high will you climb? Let me go ahead and for formality thank Reverend Zuber and Tommy Brown for inviting me to come and share with you. And I don't come to offend, but I come to help you overcome. I'm going to challenge you a little bit today, the time that we have together. And since the last time I was here several months ago, some of you have already congratulated me. I've gotten married, and thank my wife for joining me on her day off today. I'm sure she had other things to do, but she came to be with me today and support me. And then I was also ordained as a minister and have moved on from several new and exciting projects that I'm sure you hear about within the months to come. But again, I wanted to talk to you about in thin air and asked you, how high will you climb? And this really comes from Matthew 14, and for the sake, because I don't know where everyone is spiritually, I don't really stay in the Bible, but I use principles out of the Bible when I teach. So coming from Matthew, the 14th chapter, it's the 22nd verse and 24. You can go ahead and write that down if you want to read it later. But it just simply says, immediately he made the disciples get into the boat and go ahead of him to the other side, while he sent the crowds away. After he had sent the crowds away, he went up on the mountain by himself to pray. And when it was evening, he was there alone. But the boat was already a long distance from land, battered by the waves, for the wind was contrary. So that's 22 through 24. And I could continue to read, and it goes on for quite a few more verses. But I'm going to stop right there, because right in those few sentences are 3 to 4 points that we can talk about today about being in thin air. So let me ask you all, which came first, the chicken or the egg? How many think the chicken? How many think?
I think the chicken came
Chicken
first.
came first. All right, how many think the egg? All right, where did the egg come from? The chicken didn't come first.
That's the question.
But then again, where did the chicken come from if the egg
God.
didn't come first? All right, well, let me go ahead and ask a little, since y'all got that one, and Roger's in the house now. And ask late, you want to invite somebody to come late. But let me ask you a little harder question. Which do you think comes first, revelation, then elevation? Or elevation, then revelation? Which comes first, revelation,
Revelation.
then evelation? Or evelation, then revelation? Who thinks revelation comes before your elevation? All right, same chicken person back there. I think revelation comes before elevation. Who thinks elevation comes before revelation? All right, a few folks. There's no right or wrong answer there,
Exactly.
because it really depends on who you ask. If we look at some characters like Abraham, his revelation came through a burning bush. And his elevation came when he became father of many nations. If we look at Daniel, he received his revelation as a youth and knew that he needed to worship God before he had his revelation in the lion's den. Elijah and Elijah received their revelation out in the field and then were elevated to prophet and to king. Jonah received his revelation before he went into the belly of the whale. King David, King Saul, Moses received his revelation to go and tell Pharaoh to let his people go, and then received his elevation when he reached the promised land. And then, of course, there was Noah that received a revelation, said to build an ark. But if we look at the New Testament, it's actually elevation which comes before revelation. For I just read that Jesus went up into the mountain. He always went up into the mountain and then came down and performed miracles, works, and wonders. But let's ask ourselves, why did he have to go up unto the mountain before he could come down and do great things? With the question I want you to hold in your mind of how high are you willing to climb? So if anybody's asleep next to you, why don't you just ask them if they're willing to move into thinner air? Are you willing to move into thinner air? You may have heard James Allen, who said, man's rise or fall, success or failure, happiness or unhappiness depends on his attitude. Dr. Norman Vincent Peale said, any fact facing us is not as important as our attitude towards it, for that determines our success or failure. It is your attitude that determines your altitude. Your attitude determines your altitude. That's what Zig Ziglar said. Your attitude is one of the most important and most powerful factors in your life. In fact, everything you achieve or don't achieve can be traced back to your attitude. Simply put, good attitudes bring good things, good results. Bad attitudes will bring
Bad results.
stank attitudes will bring
Stinking results.
y'all get my point. It's your attitude more than your aptitude that will determine your altitude. Your attitude more than your aptitude will determine your altitude. Brother Preacher, then why is altitude so important? Well, if I were to have a ladder here, what rung would you want to be on? The bottom rung or the top rung?
Depends on what you're doing.
No, you're absolutely right. But ideally, would you want to be on the lower rung or the higher rung? The higher rung, because the higher rung is going to get you to whatever you needed to bring the ladder out for in the first place. So it's the higher rung that we all strive to be on. Now this passage of scripture from Matthew that I just read wasn't the whole story, but as I said, it does give us some key points relevant to us here today. Most of us can't get the altitude we desire because of the attitude of our family and friends. I'll say that one more time again. Most of us can't get to where we want to go because of our family and friends.
That's right.
He said it. Let me go ahead and read it because I don't want y'all to think I'm making it up. It said, immediately he made the disciples get into the boat and then go ahead of him to the other side while he sent the crowds away. The disciples which had traveled with him saw him do miracles, works, and wonders. Those that were closest to him, he had to send away from him. And then the crowd, he also had to send them away for him to be alone. For many of us, there are the ones that are altering our attitudes. I want to do better, but my friends want to stay stuck.
Why?
And 9 times out of 10, we stay stuck right along with them.
Yeah.
Right.
I want to just challenge you all today that you need to look through your phones and through your email databases and on your Facebook pages. And what you need to do with your friends is either change them or charge them. Change them, i.e. meaning delete, or charge them to help you get to where you want to go.
Yeah.
Because if they're not trying to do any of those things, then they're not friends in the first place. Well, let me go ahead and give you point 2. Sometimes we need to take ourselves and get by ourselves and seek God's will for our life. Whether that's through prayer or meditation. We need to ask God about our dreams, our hopes, and our aspirations. And then I want you to ask him, what has my condition allowed those dreams, aspirations, and hopes to slip away? Many of us wanted to be athletes or a writer or businessman or whatever, but now we find ourselves stuck with the wrong attitude. 3, and the third point, we also need to contemplate what it means to be in an alone place. We don't like being alone. We weren't created to be alone, but sometimes we need to be in an alone place. Now, I'm not too close to the door here, James, so I hope I don't hurt nobody. But I need to put you on the spot for a second. When you were given the vision for Common Ground, were people supposed to stay months and years?
Not at all.
Oh, not at all. Well, look at that. Because I have right here, and I can hand the paper for y'all to read. We create safe spaces like this one. But I can assure you that the mission isn't for you as individuals to be here for weeks, months, or years. Without even asking James what the initial mission was. But we've got comfortable because we don't like being in alone places.
Right.
Well, let me go back to my question because I know I done upset some folks. How high are you willing to climb? What are your goals and your objectives for 2015, for 2016, for the next 5 or the 10 years? Have you even began to cast your vision that far? Or are you just living day by day? In June, there was a celebration. I don't know if any of y'all went, and if you did, you're forgiven. But I disappeared. I just disappeared. Stopped going to Ryan White, Planning Council, and CPG, and JPEG. I just stopped doing it. And old folks were just so, James, they were happy. I went in the room. I heard they had cake with confetti and balloons. Finally, he is gone. But there was a news flash.
Okay,
I didn't go anywhere. I just moved in thin air.
okay.
At sea level, I was performing great. Ryan White, CPG, JPEG, my trips to DC, the White House, the FDA, my state advocacy. Company was doing real well. The list goes on and on. I was doing well at sea level. But my affect, that's A-F-F-E-C-T, my effect on change was and still being felt even to this day. Because some of those things I advocated for back then are being implemented today.
That's right.
Messages I would pray that I gave here still resonate in your spirit. You were here for Dorothy. You remember that message with Dorothy. But in order for me to get to the pinnacle of my destiny, said I had to go in thin air, Roger. In order to pass my tomorrow and look over and see the promised land, I had to go to a higher place. It's extremely hard when you are stuck in a crowd to see ahead. You can get on your toes, you can stand on a chair, but you can only see but so far. But if you stand on the top of Stone Mountain, not only can you see on a clear day Atlanta, but you can see Tennessee, North, South Carolina. You can see a whole lot when you're in a higher place. Now I could bore you with the scientific details of atmospheric pressure decreasing exponentially with the altitudes, etc. But let me go ahead and break it down since we got mostly men here. Any Denver Bronco fans in the room? I didn't think so. But Denver Broncos are one of the NFL's best conditioned teams. That's a fact. They are the best conditioned team because they practice in higher altitudes.
That's right.
When they go to other places, they play better than they do at home because the air in Atlanta is different than it is in Denver.
That's right.
But when Atlanta goes to Denver, you see them gasping for breath, etc., because they're not comfortable in the altitude. I'm preaching here, James. I don't know. I'm talking about acclimation to altitude. When you get accustomed to living your purpose, your destiny in greatness or in your greater, you perform better at sea level. This is from the little atlas I read. I still got an encyclopedia at home. The human body and the mind can and will adapt to high altitude. Now that's a point right there because a lot of us don't think we can perform better when we move to higher places. But it said in my atlas that the human body and mind can and will adapt to you moving to greater. It also said that there's an increase in the breathing rate. Breathing, breath, God breathes breath into us. I'm talking about the spirit man now. Said, so understand that if he breathed life into you, then the increase in your spirit man. In addition, at high altitude, the heart beats faster. The heart beats faster. Leaders need to strive to have the heartbeat and a heart that is after God's heart. So if God's heart beats faster, there are things that happen to your body. One, the atlas said your stroke volume decrease, meaning that your stress will automatically decrease in higher altitudes. Non-essential bodily functions are suppressed. James isn't here, but I was going to ask him what a non-essential bodily function would be and what that would mean to be suppressed. i.e., if I can break it down, the bull decreases in higher altitudes. That's what a non-essential bodily function is. The bull decreases in high altitudes. Why? Because I don't have to deal with the Negroes on the ground.
Come on.
I don't have to deal with the family and friends no more. I don't have to put up with the stuff that you keep bringing me when I'm in a higher altitude. So because we could all start on a journey up Stone Mountain, and a whole lot of us would fall off. Because we haven't been conditioned, mind, body, or soul, to make the trip. It also said that there is a decline in food digestion, that's the efficiency, etc. But because your food digestion suppresses, it means that those things that you need for the long trips are now reserved. You have a higher concentration, meaning that your mind is clear and more concise. And with the blood being pumped through your heart, it oxygenates more blood. And we've already talked about the power that is found in blood. Let me go ahead and break it down this way. Altitude and athletic performance. Let's look at a boxer, or a fighter, or a long distance runner. If they were to practice in a higher altitude, then when they do the long jump, the triple jump, or 400 meters, what winds up happening is the obstacles that they have to face when they have to come back to deal with what's down here is made easier when you spend time in thin air. For endurance events, that's the long distance hauls, understand that the Bible says that if you can handle it in the higher altitude, that you will run and not get weary, walk and not faint. The performance enhancing effect of altitude, that training could be due to the increased red blood cell count. I'm not making that up. That was in the apple. When you get into a higher altitude, your there's a praise in there somewhere, but your red blood cell count automatically increases. Now I'm just here to ask you just one more thing, and we can go around the room however y'all want to do that. How high will you climb? Are you willing to go into thin air? Tia was going to sing for me today, but she said I could go ahead and sing, so I'll turn on my phone and I can play some music because I'm not a singer. But I want to ask you today, how high are you willing to climb? How high are you willing to climb? Are you willing to move into thin air?
The highest, the highest.
Really? 100%?
I do it every day.
All right, talk to me.
Well, you have to challenge yourself because a lot of times we're in our own heads. You know, we see a challenge, and for me, the Buddhist practice has really been helping me because it lets me celebrate those obstacles. That lets me know that I've matured and I've grown as a person. So if I'm given the obstacle, then that means that I can handle it because it was presented to me.
Okay.
So when I overcome the obstacles and go back and return to where I was before, it's not the same to me anymore. It's not as intimidating because I faced it.
Okay.
So I do it every day, from creating my company with my art to my personal relationships. And I do things to deliberately challenge myself because I don't want to stay in the same place.
Okay. And what's that one obstacle that you still need to get over?
Me getting out of my own way. And because I strive to get out of my own way, I see the results and I see what getting out of my own way would do for me versus staying stuck in a mental state of, well, maybe if I try it this way or maybe I put it off another day, you know, I can do it. But I think a lot of times we want to avoid it because of the challenge being intimidating, but also we avoid it because we're afraid of the unknown.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, are you willing to go ahead and get past that obstacle if you have some help?
Absolutely.
What does every athlete and every team has to have in order to succeed?
Motivation.
No, a person, a coach, a leader, a coach. So here's a gift certificate, the 1 hour coaching session. If you give my wife your phone number, I'll call you and I'll give you the information so we can go ahead and set that up. So, because I'm working on my certification as a life coach. So the leader has to know the way, show the way, and then go the way. I know the way. I've already gone the way, but now I have to show the way. Because a leader look awful stupid if they out there and they don't have no followers. They're not trying, ain't trying to build nothing, ain't trying to start a church, none of that. I said, but leaders cultivate other leaders. That's how you know a true leader. See, I can sit in front of the room, and you all have to listen to me. Said because I was introduced as the leader today. That doesn't make me a leader. Oh, this is Reverend William Francis. That don't mean nothing, because that's just the title. A leader can lead from the back of the room just as effectively as they can from the front of the room.
That's right.
Okay.
Our community gonna learn that soon enough. Said I'm not gonna lead by intimidation. If he doesn't call, he just doesn't call. That's on him. Said, but there's a 1 hour certificate for a coaching session, and like I said, make sure you give my wife your number, and then just write down by his name self, because we're gonna go ahead and work you through self. If that's your obstacle, then we're gonna work you through self in some coaching sessions. How high would somebody else climb?
I want to climb real high.
Alright.
I want to get out of self and concentrate on what I can do for, not just for me, but to educate other people of what I've been through, so they won't make the same mistakes. So I gotta get out of self to learn how not to be so selfish and trying to hold back and not be afraid of the unknown.
It was Antonio, right?
Yes.
A-N-T.
R Hogan.
All right, so you said you got to get past self as well. And then you want to climb high. And then once you get high, you want to go ahead and show other people how to climb.
Right.
And you know what's interesting? If all of us were to go to Stone Mountain right now, some of us would take the tram to the top of the mountain. But you'd be at the top of the mountain, you'd be at the top of the mountain. Some folk would run up, and they would do it this way, and they get to the top of the mountain. And then some would go straight up. If you're a rock climber, you go over, the little thing, but you still get to the top of the mountain. It doesn't matter how you get to the top of the mountain, but you got to get there. So I think your point is very valid. I think the tram is the easy way to get to the top of the mountain, but you got to the top of the mountain. Because there are some things, like Roderick said, that he's going to take the tram. The reason he took the tram is because that's what he chose to do. But he's at the top of the mountain. So now that he's at the top of the mountain, he can't tell everybody to take the tram. So because he's going to encounter Tia's scared of the tram. She ain't going to get on that thing because it rocks in the wind. He can't tell me to run up the mountain because I'm going to get short of breath and I'm going to quit about halfway up. Understand, when you start moving up to the top of the mountain, everybody ain't going to make it.
Yeah.
We can sit here all day long, and I want all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All 10 of y'all to change. Maybe 2 will. But that's okay. Because I can't change anybody.
Right.
So we can get you to the top of the mountain. And then you got to figure out how to get other folks up there based on your experience. So get with my wife. She right over there. Raise your hand, Tig, in case you know. And we'll go ahead and give you we'll schedule this within the next, 3 weeks? I guess within the first week of May. So within the next 3 weeks of May. And we'll go ahead and assist you as well. Who else is willing to make that climb? And don't raise your hand because you want a certificate, because it's just paper. This don't mean nothing. It's just paper. Anybody else willing to climb?
I am.
All right, talk to me.
For me, I want to climb because I want to be able to get my 2 youngest brothers out of these fights custody.
Okay. How old are they?
14 and 15.
Okay. What's your name?
Ken.
All right, so 2 brothers in DFACs, Why are they in there, if you don't mind me asking? If it's too personal, don't.
My they mother passed away. We are the same father but different mothers.
Okay. All right. So what do you have to do?
I'm a father, I consider him respond on me.
Okay. Yeah, what do you have to do in order to get him out of defect?
Find me a job.
Okay, so why are you sitting here? I'm not picking on you.
No.
I'm not picking on you. Understand what I'm saying. A lot of times what we do is we have a goal in mind, and I think this is very admirable. How old are you?
32.
You don't look no 32, but 32. How old are your brothers? How old are your brothers?
14, 15.
And 15. Okay. So 32-year-old man said, and I very admirable.
Yeah.
I just recently,
Very
a couple months ago, I wound up reconnecting with my father after 42 years.
Wow.
I hadn't seen him since I was 5. Well, I'm 43 now because I'm 48. But I hadn't seen him since I was 5 years old.
Wow.
When I got there, like literally knew nothing about him. He could not have walked into this room and picked me out. What was scary, and I was sending pictures to Tia, was, and I can share that. My mother is a professional entrepreneur. She does extremely well. Little house in the country club, nice car, all that, you know. My stepdaddy, you know, he's doing good, all that. They travel, going nicely, all of that. They, you know, successful black folk. My father, on the other hand, was successful as a pimp. Drug dealer. Shot a couple folk because you looked at me wrong.
Wow.
Killed a couple folk. No, I shouldn't be saying this on tape. But then done some stuff that was completely opposite of what my mama did. What was interesting, and I shared with Tia, is that as we were sitting in his living room, his exact words was, if he was a B, I would put on my smoking jacket and I'd work you. But since you're my son, I'm just going to put on this robe. And he grabbed a robe. I swear it was the exact same robe I had in the closet.
What?
Tricked me out. When I was 5, he went to take me for a steak dinner and ordered me a Salisbury steak, a hamburger, with gravy on top. That ain't a steak from where I'm from. Call it what you will, that ain't a steak. That's just a hamburger on a plate. They didn't give you the bread.
Right.
So the running joke that weekend was I never got my steak dinner. So we went to a steakhouse to go get a steak. He ordered his steak exactly how I get my steak, including out of a list this long of side dishes to get with the steak. Freaked me out.
Wow.
He said, well, I want to buy my son a drink. So bring me 2 shots of Jack Daniels. My eyebrow went off my forehead because I drink Jack Daniels.
Wow.
So here it is, after 42, 43 years of not seeing him, no contact, no phone, Facebook, none of that. I was more like him
Wow.
than my mother.
Yeah.
If I showed you his picture, other than him still having all his hair, you could tell that I was his son.